Well, Ashleigh Shanti, welcome to Biscuits and Jam.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
It's so nice to connect in person. We did a story about you. Gosh, it's been like 5 years ago.
hmm
You were at a different restaurant at the time, and somehow our paths have not crossed, but it's great to see you.
Yeah, I mean it's great to be a part of this podcast. If you're talking 5 years ago, you must be talking about when I was at Benny on Eagle, or at least
Yeah.
leaving and thinking about my own projects. So yeah, you've certainly followed me throughout my journey, which is
Yeah. Well, so where am I reaching you right now, Ashleigh?
I am currently in Asheville, North Carolina, which is where I live. That's where I reside. If you're talking that long ago, I had just taken my first CDC position, was just starting to cook the food that felt expressive to me and my own journey and my culinary identity.
Well, you've had a lot going on, and you've come a long way, and you've come through a lot too. We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of Helene coming through Asheville. How do you feel like the community is doing up there, and especially the restaurant community?
I feel like as a community, we're certainly thriving. That's something that Appalachian people know how to do. Just kind of even in the recovery of it all, it's really easy to kind of find place within the people that have the same views as you and look like you and just kind of are going through the same things as you. But during the storm, you didn't have much of a choice. Like, we were all a community. You're my neighbor, regardless of beliefs and, all those things. All those barriers were completely broken down, and we were suddenly really neighbors in that sense of the word, where regardless of what you believe and who you are, I'm going to take care of you. And it was pretty eye-opening, that experience, being shoulder to shoulder with people that I knew did not believe what I believed, but we're all working together toward a common goal. That was something that was really powerful, and I feel like very expressive of this region. Is we're just like a bootstrapping region. Like, the folks here, like, we know what we're doing. Like, using the storm as an example, we were doing what needed to be done before government relief came about. Like, in my own area, for instance, we were building an egress road and had already had that done before someone said, hey, I'm going to make sure that we repair your road. Like, we have one road in and one road out around here. So It was really incredible and affirming to see that everyone was coming together to work toward a common goal. We did not care what you believed. We didn't care what you looked like, all those things. It was like all that stuff went away, and it was just kind of this like utopian feeling that I hope continues to exist in this region, and I know is a big part of why a lot of people moved here, especially when we talk about Black people, people of color, gay people. Like, that's a big part of why they came to this region. So I hope that those moments will, be highlighted more, and we give more credit to that.
Well, I hope it does too, and I hope particularly as the 1 year anniversary approaches, maybe that's kind of another opportunity for the community to come together.
Totally.
You're coming off some pretty big news. You just won a James Beard Award for your new cookbook, which is called Our South, Black Food Through My Lens.
Yes.
It's an extraordinary cookbook.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about the title.
Our South, Black Food, Our South, Black Food Through My Lens. A big part of it is me writing through the food that has been integral to my growth as a chef, but just going beyond that and realizing that a lot of Southern chefs, especially Black chefs, probably hold a lot of these same truths and are hoping to see some of these things highlighted, some of these recipes that I felt like, deserve to be captured and preserved. And I imagine, some folks like me, when I was discovering different chefs that I felt like I could relate to, just being like, holy crap, like Chow Chow and Leather Britches, that's getting some shine in a nationally recognized cookbook. Of course, when I first wrote this, I had no idea that it would win a James Beard Award, but it's even more affirming that, for me, realizing that a lot of these recipes needed to be preserved, it's even more meaningful to know that, it's been nationally recognized, and the hope that someone, a young person, or even whoever, would open these pages and see a little bit of themselves, or realize that some of the recipes that their grandma or even they had curiosities about, that those recipes are being preserved and highlighted in a really cool way. So, it felt really good to have that very high honor.
Oh, I bet it did. Well, I'm not surprised.
Thank you.
I mean, you're a very talented writer, and you're a talented storyteller, and I feel like you stitch together so many stories about your family and about the food from the region in a way that felt really fresh. Where did you learn how to tell stories like that?
That's a great question, because first of all, no one has really asked me that question. And, with the nomination of the James Beard Award, I kind of started to ask myself that too. Like, where did this angle of writing and storytelling come from? And I remembered that a big part of why I'm here as a chef is largely related to the storytelling of my family. They told stories, such stories that captivated me, and I wanted to make sure I continued that journey of their story. The stories that I heard growing up about food and as they related to our family, they were so captivating. And then just in myself, like my own stories that I developed as a young cook, just realizing that there are not a lot of stories told like mine. And then even in the storytelling of my family, realizing that these are recipes that really deserve to be preserved. Like, what can I do in my little small, corner? What can I do to make sure that these things are expressed as much as they can be? Like, of course, like, it was really cool to have my book, placed on a national level, but those are not things that I ever imagined would happen. But I'm someone that has like really dug deep to find people like Melinda Russell and Edna Lewis. And, I hope that our South makes it a lot easier for people that are trying to find recipes that they can resonate with, or stories that they relate to. I hope that it makes it a lot easier. But, I never said to myself, I want to put this on a large platform to make it easier for people that are marginalized in the food world to find. But I was like, you know what? If I found Melinda Russell, or if I found Edna Lewis, they will find our South. And so it's really, I'm very grateful that it's on the platform that it's on now, because I hope that means that it's easier for people like me to find, that are searching for themselves. And, it shouldn't be that difficult. The South is so vast, and we have so many stories here, and the foodways here are expressive in so many other foodways throughout our country and our nation, that I hope that, much like I always bring it to, the Italy, there's Piedmont, and there's Roman food, and there's all these different cuisines of Italy. Like, what about if we think of Southern cuisine in that way,
Yeah.
that it's so diverse. There's the Delta region, there's Florida South, and there's the Charleston, the Low Country, and there's Tidewater, Virginia. Like, we have so much diversity within the South that it like makes me cringe when I hear people blanket our cuisine as Southern cuisine. We're so much more than that. We all have
each one's like its own little country. Yeah.
So yeah, we're all so very different.
You were talking about the influences on you, and one of the things that caught me right away was looking at the dedication in your book, and you said, to the generations of chefs who have poured into me and were instrumental in making me the chef I am today. And then that was followed by a list of about, I counted, I think it's about 18 women. And I'm wondering, what are some of the things that those women have in common?
Something that those women all have in common is that they cooked with a story or an idea or a thread that I could latch onto. Whether it was, Mashama Bailey coming from New York and then going back to Savannah, Georgia, and discovering Thrills, which are the popsicles that she sells, or whether it's my great auntie that had her like little fish camp on the coast of Virginia. Or there's so many things that like inform the way that I cook and the way that I write. Those 18 plus women, because I mean, that's a small list. And I feel like, now that you're saying it, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many more women than that. But, that's part of what they've done is just like every single person or experience has provided something to me that has been so monumental. And it's even from just like forcing me to string those beans to make leather breeches, or making me go across the street to grab yard onions, or all those things. They've all shaped who I am in very, very different ways, but very meaningful ways.
Well, I want to hear a little bit about your story, and it starts off in a really interesting way. Because you were born in Georgia, in St. Mary's, Georgia. That, it sounds like that was not the intention.
It's about happenstance. Yeah, it just happened.
That was not the game plan. You were born at a family wedding, right?
Yeah. My Aunt Patricia's wedding. Yep.
But I also love that you have such strong ties to that part of the world. And it seems to have informed your journey, and your food, and it seems to be just such a core part of who you are, that maybe it wasn't an accident that you were born there.
Yeah, no, it feels really cool to feel such familiarity with the waters, and just thinking of how I was born on the water. Like, my parents' first home in Virginia Beach was a lake house on the water, and I had like high respect of the water. Like, I knew they probably wouldn't want me to say this, but like I was an only child. I was left alone in the back a lot, but I knew when it was too far. And I just like, there was just like always this reverence for the water and this respect for the water, and realizing how powerful it was. Of course, how fun it was, but like also with that, how powerful it was and how it needed to be respected. And I don't know, I think it's really cool that I was born in St. Mary's, Georgia. It's one of our southern barrier islands. Not a place that I get to make it out to much, but when I think about the history of that area and the fishery and all those things, it does make sense to me. I just kind of have had this like tie to the coast, and even when I've tried to leave, it's like the coast continues to pull me back. And I think that's why given my first restaurant concept, Good Hot Fish, it was just like me just trying to pull from the coast again, because that's just like where my heart is. But yeah, no, you're right. Like, it's just like, it maybe was just meant to be that I was born in coastal Georgia. It's kind of strange in that way, actually.
But you grew up in Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and on the water also. How did your parents land there? How did you end up growing up in Virginia? Does that go way back?
Yeah,
Or
so
had
both
they?
my parents, military, for my mom, her dad, and for my dad himself, just landing. He worked for Department of Defense, but ended up in coastal Virginia because of the Navy and just settled there. Loved it enough. It was, I remember him kind of talking about how he wanted to get as far away from home as possible. And if you read the book Midlands, that chapter, that was his, I'm trying to get as far away from that as possible. And he didn't make it very far, but he kind of did. A different region, which was coastal Virginia. And so that is where he met my mom. And a lot of those foodways converged, which is where I feel like I kind of found my own identity, is in us all kind of trying to make sense of what our own foodways were. Really feeling grateful that I got a little bit of the best of both worlds. My parents' first date was at a fish fry shack.
Oh, well, that feels like kismet then.
I know. And then my first restaurant was at a seafood shack, and just like that kind of informed a lot of the things I did early in my career. So it feels very nostalgic to now go back to it and be like, okay, well, I want to open a really cool fish fry spot in a place that has nothing like that because we're in the mountains.
Right.
And then just remembering all the stories of, the family on the coast that did have access to fresh fish, and then them being the plug to the family that didn't have access, and being like, that's for my family where fish camps came from. Like, you have access, I don't. Then when and how often can you drive this up to me? I'll either sell it, feed it to my family, whatever. And then just starting to see all these stories about fish camps. I'm like, oh yeah, like we did that. That's what we have done for years and years. It feels really good to kind of pay homage to that in a lot of ways. I know that what I do is nowhere near as difficult as what my family did. Purveyors and stuff in place for all that.
Right.
But a lot of it is like, it is really challenging to get fish to the mountains. And that's something I think that people don't realize, that if you're trying to get coastal fresh fish to the mountains,
Even harder.
it is really challenging. Yeah. So, but we have fun doing it though.
Well, I want to talk to you about the restaurant more in a sec. But, I wanted to ask you real quick about your dad. You mentioned your dad as a real influence,
Mm-hmm.
and as someone who kind of quizzed you a lot when you were kind of trying to find your groove in cooking. What are some things that he taught you?
Oh my gosh, he still quizzes me now. He's certainly become someone that, what do you say, eats to live and doesn't live. So like, he's because of that, he's so inquisitive about what I do and why I do it, because he's never been someone that's cooked a lot. He's enjoyed really good food. He's super healthy now. He definitely eats fried fish behind my mom's back, which is like, we won't tell anyone about that.
Oh, he's not supposed to.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure he can. He's so healthy. He's fine. But, he just lives by a certain standard. But in regards to some of the things that he's taught me, I think mostly it's just about community when it comes to food. And that's something that I've realized about him. It's less about, of course, he really wants that fried whiting from Chickasee, of course. But more than that, I think he wants to connect with Jared that he hasn't seen in weeks. And, that's also like, bigger than the fish fry is about food. It's also about community. Like, this is where you're going to be able to see people you haven't seen in weeks. This is where you get to like check on people's children. You get to see how big they've grown, all that. Like, I think that's what he taught me is like food is community, even though he probably would be confused by that because now he's like a little different with the way that he eats. But he did teach me, and that's I think why he cheats on his diet, is that food is community. You know? Like you're getting your hair cut, and when the lady comes around to sell Yakimain, you're buying it from her mostly just because you want to talk. It's really good and it's nostalgic and it reminds you of a past time, but you also just want to know how she's doing and how her kids are doing. And that's why you stop into the fish fry spot. And that's why you like visit Ray on the smoker and all those things. It's like food has such a story. It's so much more about a feeling to me. It's got to be good, of course. That's what retains people. But beyond that, it's a feeling that we're giving people. And it's like, for me, because, I mean, I come from a fine dining background, but that's not what I'm doing right now. So I know that right now it's the emotion that draws people. It's the feeling. It's the sense of community that draws people. Food, I already know how to do that. I already got that. It's like, that's easy. But it's that sense of community that we're really trying to evoke.
Well, there's a line in the book where you talk about wanting to feed people body and soul, which I loved. Yeah. It sounds very, very true to who you are.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Ashleigh, tell me a little bit about Good Hot Fish and what it sort of looks and feels like when you walk in there. I mean, what's the feeling that you want it to evoke? What's the atmosphere? What's the music that's playing?
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of depends on the day or the mood. Could be smooth jazz. Could be 90s R&B playing on the radio, but we're going to have some like really good tunes to really take you back. Biggest thing for us, I mean, we're a really, really tiny space. Overall, we're only 1,100 square feet. So we've got 20 seats inside, so mostly a chef's bar. And then we've got the same amount of seats outside on our patio. We're lucky enough that we have this really great rooftop bar above us that we send people up to. So there are other options for seating, but when it comes to our space in particular, you'll see photos on the wall of what old South Side Asheville used to look like, which is where we're nestled into. Post Jim Crow area, huge area for Black business. And so we're paying homage to a lot of that. You'll see a lot of my parents' old Jet magazine photos in the restaurant.
I love that.
Yeah, a lot of the R&B hip hop artists that I was obsessed with growing up. The bathroom is covered with Jet Beauty of the Weeks, which was either on page 16 or 27, depending on what year. Trust me, I know. And my wife did a really incredible job of honoring all those women on our bathroom walls. And then all the hand-painted signs that you'll see. My wife has done a really great job of like ensuring that looks great. But it's just like a nostalgic place. Like you walk in, often someone like our initial weeks were like, I feel like I'm at my grandmother's house. And that's when I knew we had nailed it. I was like, that's what we're looking for. So that felt really good to me.
Tell me about the, I haven't been, and you may have a lot of versions of this, but I love a fish sandwich. I love a really good fish sandwich. And I know that you have one. Is there kind of a signature fish sandwich that you guys do? And I'm wondering if you can describe it for me.
Signature, yes. We do half a pound of catfish. And I know a lot of people get kind of weird about catfish.
Not me.
Well, good. But for the people that do, we use a really amazing farm locally, Carolina Classics out of Ada, North Carolina. And they just do a really good, consistent product. You'll never taste muddy fish or anything like that, which I have no problem with wild catfish. But for this application, we do use farm catfish. Our Good Hot Fish sandwich, half a pound of catfish, our locally made tartar sauce. We use our local lacto-fermented pickles, herbs, buttermilk, Duke's mayonnaise, like all these really good things. It comes with a little sidecar of pickles, white bread, squishy white bread, because you got to have the squishy white bread to like soak up all the grease and stuff. But it's just like a really solid sandwich, and that has been our best seller. And I kind of knew it would be, but it's just like no frills, like simple, just basic sandwich that's just done really, really well. Local ingredients and just done really, really well.
Oh, it sounds so good.
Thank you.
I'm due for a visit for sure.
Yeah, come on by.
So I want to ask you about a couple of things on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, your handle is food or death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What made you land on that?
Oh my gosh. So it was about 10 years ago when I created that, and it just, it stuck. But at the time, I don't know, I was thinking life or death, and I wanted food or die, but that wasn't available.
It was taken.
Yeah, it was taken. So I said food or death was the next best thing. And I mean, you have to remember, I was like in my early 20s, like, truly like formulating my culinary business. I didn't know what I was doing. It's kind of, I think now it's kind of funny. It's stuck. So I just like keep it. I was like really aggressive about what I was doing at that time. Like food or death.
Well, I just was checking to see if it had some really dark meaning behind it or something.
The beautiful thing is, because I've even thought that, I'm like, maybe I should change this. But beyond the darkness and beyond that, like, don't we all need food to live?
Yeah. Yes, or we're not going to make it. Yeah, that's right.
So that's why I still have it. That's my, like, matured point of view. I'm like, but we do all need food to live. So, I mean, either you have food or you have death.
Well, it's certainly memorable. So I love it. So, all right, I got to ask you about another thing, so you have in your bio, former Long John Silver's fry cook.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to tell me about that experience.
Okay. I don't really talk about this a lot because I just haven't really had the space. But before I opened Good Hot Fish, I worked at Long John Silver's. It's kind of a sad story now because that location has now been washed completely away. And it probably, I don't know if they'll reopen, but wouldn't it be cool if I reopened a Good Hot Fish in that space?
Absolutely.
But, okay, so this was inspired by a friend that was opening a coffee shop. And she was like, you want to know what I did? I staged at a Starbucks. And I learned so much. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to stage because I come from a fine dining background. This like fast casual, I'm like, I need to learn what that looks like. Like our ticket times were like real. I'm like, we got to make these quicker. Like, what can we do? I need to go to the experts. So in my town, the experts were Long John Silver's. So I went to the Long John Silver's adjacent to Biltmore. The Biltmore Palace. And I used my mom's maiden name, worked there for like a good 4 weeks. I feel like they have it on file. I can say this because I think if they have it on file, it's all been like flooded and washed away. But it was a really interesting experience. I did learn so much from the way that they train and
I'm sure
the way that their employees work. Like, I mean, everyone has a job. Everyone knows what they're doing. They come in ready to work, doing their job. It was a good experience. It's something I'll talk more about when I don't want to I don't want to offend. I don't want to offend Long John Silver's. They won't be.
Well,
their staff was impeccable. They were just like, when they found me, they were like, she is very knowledgeable. And they kept saying, that was the phrase that was used about me. She's very knowledgeable. She's very knowledgeable. And they kept saying that. And I was like, I think people are getting intimidated by me. So I hope you stop saying this because I just want to kind of fly under the radar. and I was not flying under the radar at all. So I hoped to be there longer, but it just didn't make sense. I was like, people are on to me.
Well, it had to be a great experience, and you're going to have to write about it someday.
I will. From then came good hot fish.
Absolutely. All right. Well, so Ashleigh, I want to do something real quick that we call the jam session.
Cool.
Biscuits or cornbread?
Cornbread. Oh my gosh.
Oysters or shrimp?
Oysters.
Wine or whiskey?
Wine.
Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Of course.
All day. Mountains.
My idea of the perfect summer sandwich is blank.
Ripe summer tomatoes and Duke's mayonnaise, good squishy white bread, salt, black pepper.
All you need.
Exactly.
Best TV show or movie about food and cooking is blank.
Ooh, Anthony Bourdain, Kitchen Confidential. Does that answer it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Anthony Bourdain. Like, I'm going into like the early 90s right now. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. It's informing my travel decisions today.
I love it.
Yeah.
Those really stand the test of time.
They do.
If I hadn't become a chef, I would have been a blank.
I would be. My background doesn't show it. We just bought this house, but an interior decorator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I love design. I'm like obsessed with how things look. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I am.
My favorite thing to listen to when I'm cooking is blank.
Ooh, like, oh, silence. The hum of the low boys.
Okay. All right. Last one. My Waffle House order is blank.
Oh my gosh. I don't go to Waffle House much. I know, sue me. But I know that there's like smothered and whatever I ordered, I would order like eggs and hash browns and I want them smothered because I think smothered means like gravy.
Yeah.
I don't go to Waffle House. But, you know, something smothered.
All right. Well, then let me ask you one more. My Long John Silver's order
Hell
is blank.
yeah. I'm going to do the fish basket add shrimp with fries and hush puppies.
So Ashleigh, I just want to ask you about a couple recipes in the book, and one of them was it's actually 3 recipes.
Gotcha.
Which is chow chow, which is kind of it's an Appalachian staple. And you've got 3 different versions of it in there. And I just wanted to ask about your connection to that dish and why you needed to have 3 in the book.
Chow chow, quintessential to Appalachian tables. There is no real recipe to chow chow. Chow chow was birthed from people utilizing what they had. So that's why there's so many recipes. I mean, I even now could come up with a recipe for chow chow right now that I've never made before with this like watermelon radish that I have in my fridge and celery and all these things. Like, that's part of what chow chow is. Like, chow chow is less of a recipe and more of an idea. It's really helpful if you have cabbage on hand, but it's more about making this amalgamation of different vegetables of sorts that you have and you can chop up and make one really delicious condiment.
Well, that's kind of a theme in the book. I mean, there's another recipe in there for kilt lettuce, for example. And I love how that kind of speaks to this, idea of scarcity and the kind of waste not, want not.
Yeah.
Aspect of just Appalachian cooking. Is kilt lettuce something that you came across kind of later in life, or when did you run into that?
No, I think a big part of my Appalachian cooking experience was realizing that this was the way that I cooked and not realizing why, and not being able to put a name to certain things. Like, what are leather breeches? I also didn't know, but then finding out, I was like, oh yeah, my grandma did that. Or, souring vegetables. Like, sour corn. Like, yes, we're doing that too, but that's not what we're calling it. And, just realizing that a lot of these things, yes, are done, because a big part of Appalachian cooking has to do with the method and the foodways as opposed to the actual recipe.